Hello friends, it's your buddy Nick here with Game with the Guys. We're hanging out with Fake here in Farron Keep in Dark Souls 3. Just gotta make sure he's got some proper rings going. Very good, very good. You remember we left off at this bonfire last time, and there are 3 grues here that are kind of guarding the path. And I think the trick here is really to do your best to fight them one at a time. And this guy is hiding behind his shield, but they're usually pretty easy to knock away. So there is that. Let's see if I can get this other guy over here to come out and try to fight me. The one that I left behind is kind of the mage one. He has a poison breath, which he'll probably... Yep, there he goes to blow that right there. So yeah, fighting those guys, all 3 at the same time can be very difficult. If you fight them individually, not a problem at all. So over here, we have a scary trio of Elder Grues. But once again, we can fight these guys one at a time and from a distance. So we can sit up here and shoot down at him with arrows. They usually come over to this side right here, and you can get a couple of shots in. Preferably headshots. As you see there, it does a lot more damage. And then he's going to shoot these skulls up at us. And I got hit by one. They're usually pretty easy to dodge. Nope. But he'll just sit there and try to hit us with that spell with his ugly face staring right at us there. And, oh, thought I had another shot going. I guess I ran out of stamina. There goes the first one. No real danger. That skull spell is pretty easy to dodge. It really reminds me of, I think it's called the Executioner gloves from Bloodborne. It reminds me of the spell from that. But he'll just shoot this up and you can just kind of roll right through and dodge everything. So just rinse and repeat that. I'll just fast forward until I get the goods from these guys, and then I'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, that last guy was really, really cooperating. So from those guys, we got a couple of new items, and for those of you that have played Dark Souls 1, you'll remember these from the Darkroot Garden. The first one is Ferris's hat, a broad-brimmed leather hat traditionally used by master archers, and especially favored by forest-dwelling hunters, like the Forest Covenant from Dark Souls 1. The name Ferris is said to have once belonged to a hero, but is now more widely known as a style of hat. So, the Master Archer that they probably are referring to is Ferris himself. And in Dark Souls 1 we learned that Ferris's skill compared to that of Hawkeye Goff. And so he was a very skilled hunter. And it kind of mentions how that this style is kind of, you know, more known as a style rather than the actual hero. It kind of reminds me of something like a Robin Hood hat, where actually in Dark Souls 1 the description says that it was popular among children, and this was likely influenced by the idea of Robin Hood, the lore of Robin Hood becoming, you know, kind of a children's story, and so little kids wanted to dress up like Robin Hood, and so that's kind of how the Ferris hat became popular like this. So that was the first item. The other that we got was Ferris's bow, the black bow. So this is a long black bow, of hero Ferris. Not really a lot of lore here. It has a longer range, which is nice. Has a different skill, which is pretty cool. I don't know if we can even attempt to use this right now, but it is actually... you'll see that he kind of shoots it at a 3/4 angle there. And if I put on the long bow, that is done more vertically. So that's something a little interesting with that. But now they have an item that they've left behind, a grand treasure that I probably won't even use at all. but it is there for the taking. And as we... Oh, you know what I was going to do? I was going to show off a summon, so I'll go run over and do that. And something that's really cool that you can do while you're hanging out in the nasty, gross, poisonous swamp. If you're rocking a Cleric's Chime, you can just use the weapon skill, and it pretty much just counteracts all of the poison itself, so you don't have to worry about it at all. You won't have a shield in your offhand, but that's not so bad, I guess. Because when you are using the skill, you have to have the chime active in your hand at all times. So now we meet Hazel, and she gives us the proper bow, which kind of suggests that maybe that she is of a royal bloodline or a highborn bloodline of some kind. And if she would kindly follow us. This area is, you know, as I mentioned with fighting these first 3 Gru, if you go through and you kind of just fight things one at a time, it's not so bad. I kind of just wanted to bring Hazel along just for fun, really, if she would actually show up somewhere. Let's see. Do I have the... Oh, I'm not wearing... I thought I was wearing the Lloyd's sword ring, and it makes it a really annoying sound when you get maxed out on health. All right. Whoa. Gee, calm down. Hazel. I wanted to show off the Gru. And you see that it has a very goat-like face, and it has these horns and these kind of horned little nubbies. But if you look at its hands, these look a lot more like the talons of a bird, though they are, you know, 5 digits like a human. And if we can look at the legs have scales like a bird's legs. And I want to get a different look at his feet, because the dew claw of this hoof is actually a bird's talon. And we'll look up here at his back, and he's got these little winglet nubbies. So we're seeing kind of this bird-goat-human hybrid. And anytime that we see black bird things, we think Velka. And there might actually be some sort of a connection here. It's hard to say, and it might be a big leap, but it's entirely possible. Here, if we look above this flame, you'll see a group of skeletons, and they're just kind of all huddled together. And this is probably symbolic of Gravelord Nito. Perhaps, perhaps. We saw with the first fire that we put out that it had the 4 kings on it, and so this one, you know, this might be a stretch, but seeing a bunch of skeletons like that makes me think of Gravelord Nito. But let's go ahead and extinguish the flame. And our second fire goes out. And our second fire lights up. So I think it's pretty interesting that in this area we are extinguishing flame in order to progress, when there is a lot of ideas to link the fire and to continue with fire. But here we are extinguishing fire. So kind of an interesting thought. I don't think that there was anything else hiding out, but... Oh, Hazel, be wary of the fire. And from here, the first and second of these 2 bonfires are very closely placed geographically speaking. And right over there we have one of my least favorite enemy types, and I'm going to let Hazel deal with him. So I'll just get his attention. Hazel! Kill this guy! And I'll try to... Oh, he did the jump thing. I hate the jump thing. I hate that. I hate it. Go fight Hazel. Or at least distract him for me. And he drops the black bug pellets, which we looked at before. And we can see that he has the similar enemy design that we saw with the other Gru, even though he is just a much, much larger jerk. So from here we're going to go and light up or extinguish, I should say, the last bonfire. But we're going to take a little bit of a detour first. And I wanted to look at this area here, and we see kind of these beasts that appear to be crucified up here. And the remains look like it could be one of the Gru. I mean, the extended skull like that. It's really hard to say exactly what this is. In the area up above, we fight a beast called a lycanthrope, and I didn't really like that they're called lycanthropes, so I just called them like the crucifixion beasts. But with the idea of it being considered a lycanthrope, that makes me wonder if that is kind of a transition period between a humanoid and something that is more Gru-like. I don't think that's the case. I think the lycanthrope is just kind of its own enemy. But, you know, when you think lycanthrope, you think transition. So I had to at least put it out there. And we picked up the greatsword. I'm just going to run over to this other side here. Hopefully not get poisoned. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but anywhere that you see like these... what are these called? The petals. I totally forgot what they're called. Polywogs or something rather petals. I'll have to put the name of it down. I'm just drawing a blank. But that's where that's where the swamp is deeper and it's difficult to walk through. And when it's just kind of devoid of those plant life, then you can walk normally. So I wanted to show off this sword here. So this is an ultra great sword, yada yada yada. Not really a lot of lore there, but this sword is likely inspired by the manga Berserk and the sword that Guts wields. So I'll go ahead and put that on, and I've actually seen people write a message right here and just say, you gotta have guts. And so it's very fitting for this great sword here. But I will never be able to use this thing. Let's go back to our little itty-bitty straight sword. And we'll run back this way, whence we came. And I should have brought a dagger along. I don't think that I have a dagger that I can use. But I mentioned before you can use a dagger to... using the dagger weapon art, you can go through and just zip right through the deep parts of the swamp without really even trying. So we've got a few guys hanging out here. Let's see, where are they? I know that there's one up here. Or there's a goodie up here. That's what it was. Just some more of this. Oh! He was hiding out the whole time. These guys can drop Titanite, which is nice. And this isn't one of the bouncy guys. He's just one of the dagger guys. If he'd drop his dagger, I could use that to go around. I feel like there's one more hiding up here. Maybe not. Oh, there he is. And you'll see right here, this is a developer message. It talks about how this area works, and the reason why it's placed here is because this is actually the closest to the beginning of the level. But for us, it's the last one that we visited. And if we look here, there appears to be a great big tree and a hooded figure in front. This seems to represent the Witch of Izalith, and either that's one of the arch trees, or maybe that's the Bed of Chaos. But, you know, like I said, maybe a stretch, but, you know, it seems to be a real coincidence. Let's go ahead and put this one out and check the cutscene. Third flame out. And final flame ignites, opening this door that it looks like something was trying to get through, and I mention that every time. And I also mention every time that it actually looks like water erosion and not and not like something was like scratching at it or taking a pickaxe to it or anything like that. And beyond we see a path just cluttered with weapons, discarded weapons. And that will remind a lot of people in Dark Souls 1 of the Sith area, where we get to the boss fight of Sith. So let's see. I can't see. Oh, here it is. If we go right through there, that is the beginning of the level. And so we're going to kind of go back that way and pick up all this stuff that we missed. And we've got a bunch of these slugs here. Or leeches. But these type of slugs were a key enemy in Blight Town in Dark Souls 1. Here is another Estus shard. And now that I'm poisoned, I can show this off. I also have replenishment going, which is basically a stronger version of what I'm rocking right here. The good thing with the replenishment is that I can put away my damn chime and it'll still keep working, but the weapon art takes very little focus points, so I kind of like to use that. And I should probably actually go ahead. I don't know that they overlap, but perhaps. You can see the replenishment is working harder against my the drain of the poison. I mentioned this before. This is the hint to tell you how the area works. And as we come over this way, we see these guys huddled around a little corpse there with the greatest bit of armor in the game. Not really, it's just this crappy little ragged mask. But maybe we'll throw it on. I don't think it really has any lore significance here. It just covers the wearer's mouth, and so this is, you know, used for avoiding noxious chemicals and gases and whatnot. And so we can just kind of make our way back to the exit or to the end of the level and picking up all the little loose ends along the way here. And there's quite a few things that we haven't got to yet. So, oh hey, oh! I'll just use this. Oh, I ran out of stamina. Hazel, you're barely helping. But, you know, it's nice to have the company. Little Hazel hanging out with us. Let's see. I don't know if I passed it. Oh, here it is. Here are the prism stones. These, wow. The first time that you come through here, this is something that is super useful because it is extremely easy to get lost in here. And the added bonus of the prism stones, I'll have to show it off later, but if you throw one off an edge, it will make an interesting sound if the height is too much for you to bear. Over here we have the stone parma. So this was actually based on my favorite shield from Dark Souls 2. It's not quite as good in Dark Souls 3. Very good stability. The guard absorption is pretty solid, but, you know, just not quite as good as the Dark Souls 2 version. And this is a round stone shield once carried by an old knight who turned into stone himself. It was a powerful defensive properties for its size, but is extremely heavy. So this was actually carried by the Stone Knights in Dark Souls 2. And if we kind of look back at Dark Souls 2, we know that Velstadt followed Vendrick when he fled, and the knights who served Velstadt awaited his return, but turned to stone before he ever did. And that's kind of what we learned from the item in Dark Souls 2. And those guys, they turned to stone, but they left their awesome shields behind. So, not my favorite shield in Dark Souls 3, but definitely a goodie in Dark Souls 2. So let's just go through, and there's just so many of these slugs. We'll just get rid of all these guys. But there's lots of good stuff hanging out. Tons of Titanite. Lots of poison-based items. We'll see a lot of those along the way. And if we just kind of hug this wall, the keep wall over here, we'll get to all the good stuff in just a moment. But I want to take all of these guys out along the way. Oh! Let's see, we should be getting close to something very interesting. Yep. Right above my head there, you'll see a Dark Wraith. So, why exactly is this Dark Wraith hanging out in Farron Keep? And he won't be the last one we see, that's for sure. And we can let Hazel get the brunt of his attacks as we come up for a backstab. And he's got super cool looking armor, and they always are guaranteed to drop a cracked red eye orb. And we've seen red eye orbs before. And I think that these actually have the same description as the other ones. Yeah, it talks about Ringfinger Leonard, but it's a little weird that we're getting it from a Dark Wraith, you know, even though he mentions the Dark Wraith later on, but... And it seemed like this Dark Wraith was kind of guarding this little tower here, or at least just hanging out by it. And this is where we get the Sage's Coal. Alright, coal used for weapon infusion. The white magic flame produced by this coal was given to the Undead Legion long ago by one of the Crystal Sage twins. And we fought one of the Crystal Sage twins and learned that he had aligned himself with them. So we give this to the blacksmith in the shrine to allow the use of gems for crystal, blessed, and dark infusion. So in Dark Souls 1, we found a kind of a similar coal in Darkroot Garden that did the basically the equivalent to what is the crystal infusion in this game. But so it seems that like this is kind of a carryover idea, that we have the magic infusion in this area that is much like, well, honestly, this area is kind of like what if Darkroot Garden fell into Blighttown, because we're seeing enemies that are related to Blighttown in the leeches, and also the Dark Wraiths were kind of in a similar location. They weren't too far off in New Londo. This is the poison gem. This is what the 3 Elder Grus were guarding. And there's a couple of Gru hounds over there hanging out, but we can kind of just leave those guys alone. So this particular infusion, let's see. Used to infuse to create poison weapons. Such weapons inflict poison lace damage that gradually eats away at foes. So the poison infusion is kind of interesting in that it will add up. Basically, it laces your item with poison. It'll lace your weapon with poison. And while doing that, it kind of takes away from its physical damage. Oh, I thought he was going to... Okay, he's coming. He's coming. Oh. Thanks, Hazel. Once again, over here, there are 3 guys hanging out, so I'm trying to just kind of pull them one at a time while talking about the poison gem. And, so one thing that's actually kind of a weird aspect of the poison gem is that if you have an item that is blood infused, or not, I don't want to say infused. Let's say that you have like the bandit knife that does bleed buildup. If you infuse a bandit knife with a poison gem, it'll actually increase the bleed aspect of it too. It won't do more bleed damage, but it'll actually help in causing bleed earlier. And let's just get rid of this stuff. So a nice little spell to have here. I don't know if Hazel is poisoned at all, but anyway. So that poison damage, you know, it scales with luck, just like bleed scales with luck. So kind of an interesting novelty item to use, but probably not something you want to use as your key weapon. And the images from Darkroot Garden continue. These are the little mushroom dudes that hung out in Darkroot Garden. And they are guarding a Sage Scroll. Darkroot Garden had a lot of magical stuff in it. And the Sage Scroll definitely is a magical item. So this is a scroll containing sorceries of the Crystal Sages. Give to a sorcerer to learn the sorceries of the Sages. And that's just a couple of Farron spells. It's Great Farron Dart, and then also Farron Hail. As any sorcerer knows, the sorcery is a talent, and these sorceries were refined to nurture a very special talent. So these were made by the Crystal Sages specifically for probably the Undead Legion of Farron Keep. And as we learned before, they preferred kind of the pragmatic spells, as they called them. So stuff that wasn't really heavily intelligence-oriented, but was, you know, fast and useful. And, oh, we've got a big crab here, and he is angry, and the swamp is deep. But what do we have? Oh, a white birch. Oh, jeez. Right as I get smacked. I need to... Oh. Thank you, Giant. You saved me. Hazel is doing nothing against this thing. But the 3 of us combined, we should be able to take out a great big crab. And he gives us the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring. So that's one of my favorite rings in the game. I see a Gru Hound over there. I hope he doesn't come and bite me while I'm looking at this thing. So, this is a special ring given to those who are deemed fit to undertake the journey of discovery in Vinheim, home of sorcery. This extends length of spell. And it'll, increase the length of the spell, like buffs, personal buffs or weapon buffs, by about 30%. And so, apropos to the Dragon School, the seal depicts an everlasting dragon. A lingering dragon symbolizes the true nature of the consummate sorcerer. So it is always very interesting that it has an everlasting dragon, because it was Seath, who is the grandfather of sorcery, and he was not an everlasting dragon. He gained his immortality through different means. And that should be the final young white birch branch, and that actually ends the quest line of the giant in Farron, not in Farron Keep. He's over in the Undead Settlement. So it's much easier if I go in this way. I talked about this before. This is the Crown of Dusk. This completes the antiquated set. And this is a feathered crown bestowed upon the Princess of Ulasil, a land of ancient golden sorceries. Through the guardian Elizabeth's blessing, and she was a mushroom lady. You'll remember Elizabeth's mushrooms. This raises the power and effect of the wearer's magic, but damage suffered by magic attack rises in tandem. And so you'll kind of see here that the magic actually goes negative because it's so bad. But this will add about 10% to sorcery damage, and you'll see it's looking like it's about a 30, 20, no, 25 to 30. Kind of, it's hard to say because, well, maybe if I just took off my headgear entirely, but big negative when it comes to what the damage will do to you. All right, there's a few other items hanging out here. Oh, just got poisoned. Let's go ahead and counteract that. And we just got a few little knickknacks and trinkets hanging out over here. Golden Pine Bundle makes a lot of sense that we would find that here because the mushroom people that were in Darkroot Garden would actually drop those when you killed them. So that makes sense. I'm shocked that that guy didn't hear me coming up, but I'll take it. And then here's another guy kind of rooting around in the mud. Oh, he did drop something. What do you have for me? Titanite. Excellent. Always happy to get some Titanite. So now we see that the path is open there, but that is going to have to wait for next time. We've got a lot of stuff still to talk about, and I should actually let Hazel go. Thank you for your service. It is much appreciated. See you later. And Hazel's only available if you decide to join the Fingers of Rosaria, and you at least take the symbol from her, and you'll see that I'm not wearing it. I'm currently a Sunbro, but because I've made friends with Rosaria, that allows Hazel to be summoned there. So I talked about the Giant's questline being over. At this point, we're going to see exactly what that entails. Here we are then. And we can just sneak on over, and by sneak I mean just run past everything. I just want to get to the elevator. Hopefully it's oriented in the right uppy downy position. Otherwise I'll have to just waste a bunch of time. Oh, got absolutely mashed by that. So a good way to kind of throw these guys off is to come up the stairway here, and they'll kind of just follow you up the stairs, and then you can just jump down here. One of the dogs was smart enough to stick around, but the rest of the guys not so much. Let's see. We got the one dog following us. Yeah. There you go, pup. Take that. And please be going up. Please be going up. Excellent. There are the stairs. I took the long route. So here we can say hello to our giant buddy and... no! Yeah, our giant buddy has passed away. He's done his duty, and now he can die in peace. And you'll notice that he is wearing a lot of chains. I probably talked about that when we first met him, but all of the giants that we've really encountered, he's actually kind of one of the smaller ones. And he has the hawk ring here. But, and this appears to be Hawkeye Goff's bow. But all of the giants that we've encountered in Cathedral of the Deep and this guy up here, they've all been basically chained up. They've been prisoners or escaped prisoners or relocated prisoners. Maybe they were captured and placed in particular places for a very particular reason. So I'll let you think about exactly why they were placed where they were. But here we have the Hawk Ring. There's a ring associated with Hawkeye Goff. one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, the First Lord, and we'll see that the rings associated with the 4 knights all have a animal symbol on them, and Hawkeye's is a hawk. So this extends the range of arrows, but it also will extend the range that you can view, and I'll show you that in just a minute. In his later years, the giant Goth was blinded, but that did not prevent him from striking down a calamitous dragon with his great bow. And that's part of the story of the DLC from Dark Souls 1, where Goth shoots down Calamite and allows us to go and fight Calamite with his great bow that looked much like this one. And let me just go ahead and put on the Hawk Ring. Actually, let's take it off so I can show you properly. So what's something good to look at? We can look at... Alright. There is the Lothric Castle, and you can see this is all the way back, this is all the way in. But then if I put this on, this is all the way back, and I can zoom so much further in. So much further with the zooming. And this also works with the binoculars. So if I take this off and I use the stupid binoculars, and pretty comparable to the bow as far as how far you can zoom in. And then if I put on the ring here, boop, 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 boop. Let's try that again, and whoop, much more zoom. So pretty nice. If you're a sniper, it's nice, but otherwise it's kind of just a novelty. I don't think that he left anything else up here. We've got a lot of his giant arrows that are great spears or great lances to someone like us, and so we'll no longer be finding these littering areas where he can help us out. His quest line is done. But at this point, we can get rid of that and just head back to Firelink. Oop. Sometimes when you pop into an area, the NPCs will, I don't know, they'll kind of just like have a little blip. They'll just kind of jump a little bit. It happens a lot with Orbeck. Let's see if we can, because he's not on the screen now, but if we go and look at him, he'll, oh, he didn't do it, but his surroundings kind of were freaky. Anyway, we've got some stuff to give to these guys. Let's start off with, we got another one of these, so let's go ahead and do that. And then we've got this new coal that we can give him.
Well. What's the undead legion doing with a coal such as this? I'd heard one of the crystal sages had sided with Farron's abyss watchers. I suppose it must be true. You should know, this coal is imbued with magic. First one I've ever seen. Hardly a surprise, is it? I've never been one for books or wise men.
And if this is the same Andre from Dark Souls 1, he wasn't the one that worked with any of the magic coals, so he wasn't lying when he said it was the first one that he ever saw. He actually talked to a fellow from Vinheim, and he takes care of that. Wow, magic Vinheim, who knew? But let's see, I don't want to reinforce, but if we go to infuse, we now have the options of crystal. As you see, it does the split damage there, poison, and the deep one here. And let's see, do I have anything I want to reinforce? I think that I'm, let's see, let's go ahead and up that, and don't want to do those. I should really be using the Dragon Crush shield.
Be careful. I don't want to see my work squat.
I just love that he's more worried about his stuff than your life. But let's go ahead. I'm going to put this one on because honestly, it makes a lot more sense. I just never switched over. Oh, and we kind of saw him just do a little hop there. It's just I don't know what the deal is with that, where they kind of just want a little peekaboo, or is he just kind of If he just stands up when we're not looking at him, it's hard to say.
Back again, I see. Perfect timing, too. I'm in need of a diversion.
Well, I've got quite the diversion for you. Here's an excellent scroll. Oh, I just realized something. I gotta hold off for just a second. When we were talking to Andre here, and I just kind of forgot to talk about this, he is kind of surprised by the way that the coal was located in Farron Keep. And, you know, we talked about before the allegiance of the Crystal Sage with Farron Keep. And the Crystal Sages they're really most notably associated with the Grand Archives. And that is, you know, just off of Lothric Castle. And his surprise to the location of the coal and why it would be in the possession of Farron Keep kind of just brings back this idea of it's an unusual combination to have a Crystal Sage, something from the Grand Archives, working with the Undead Legion, which is a group of exiles and outcasts that nobody really has any love for whatsoever. So why exactly is there an allyship there? What is going on? Is there something that we don't know? But now I'll tease Orbeck no longer. And he says, asks if I forgot something. Yes, I forgot to give you the Sage's Scroll.
Oh my. This is stupendous. Then the Undead Legion of Farron possesses sorceries quite unknown. Thank you for upholding your end of the bargain. I doubt I ever would have made this discovery alone. Now, let us unravel the thing, so you may put these new sorceries to use.
Alright, so let's see the new things that it unlocks here. We got Great Farron Dart. So this is a sorcery which improves upon Farron Dart, fires a more powerful soul dart, entrusted to the leader of the Legion's acolytes, and apparently a sorcery of his daughter, Hazel. And this was refined by the Crystal Sages. So Hazel was the one that created this. The Crystal Sages then enhanced it. But just remember here, the leader of the Legion's acolytes and his daughter was Hazel. Hazel is the daughter of the leader of the Legion's acolytes. Just remember that. So, and this kind of has a similar idea here. But
to stay safe.
Hopefully I have one of the weapons in my inventory. I don't have it on me, but hopefully I have one. Oh, that's what I get for not paying attention. I should have one in here, hopefully. Hopefully. Oh, Corvian. I don't have any of the Gru stuff. I got a couple of Corvian stuff things here. Well, the Gru stuff actually tells us that that some of the blunt-horned Gru are actually the descendants of the acolytes of the Undead Legion. And if Hazel is the daughter of the acolyte's leader, let me see exactly what it says here. Warbeck is going to get mad at me again. So the Legion's acolytes, the leader of the Legion's acolytes. So either the transition into being Gru is fairly recent, or Hazel is really, really old. That's the conclusion that I'm getting from this here.
Promise to stay safe.
Oh, I promise. I can't say the same for you, though.
What is this about? It seems too late. And there's only one thing to do. With regret, I will end it.
I'm sorry, Orbeck.
Why? Is that all I'm worth?
Yes, it really is. Well, Uriah wanted his ashes, and his ashes we now have. Before we give these up to Uriah, let's take a look at them. Umbral Ash of Orbic of Vinheim. With this, the Shrine Handmaid will prepare new items. Orbic was fascinated with sorcery, but without means. And that could be that he didn't have the money, or what exactly were the means? Was he not smart enough? So if we go on, it says, so he offered to serve as an assassin in exchange for acceptance into the Dragon Academy, believing that one day he could reinvent himself as a sorcerer. And you'll if you look at the image of the ashes there, that's actually it's, let me get to it here. Oh, I don't have it on me. Dang it. That's it's the glove from the Sorcerer set. But that's not really as important as the description here. So what we're learning about Orbic here is that he wanted to join the Dragon School, but some way or another, he didn't have the money to join, or he wasn't smart enough, and so they wouldn't let him in. So he diminished himself into becoming an assassin. And we know that basically the Dragon Academy pretty much ran Vinheim because of the might of the assassins. And this last line here, believing that one day he could reinvent himself as a sorcerer. He basically prostituted himself out because he loved sorcery so much. And he thought that if he could join the Dragon Academy, that would put this nasty filth of assassinating people behind him, and he would finally be reborn into the sorcerer and, in his mind, cleansed of the filth that he did in his past. And after we killed the Crystal Sage, he talked a little bit about how, killing and all this stuff. And he sounded very remorseful for killing, and it sounded like it disgusted him quite a bit.
Ah, well met.
Disgusted him. I'm not going to give her the Umbral Ash, but I do believe that... Let's see. Yeah. The Clandestine Coat. This is Orbic's coat here. Traditional coat of the Vinheim Dragon School. Normally a deep blue color, this black variation is a sign of a sorcerer engaged in surreptitious work. And we kept seeing that word surreptitious in reference to Griggs of Vinheim, likely. But kind of more the assassins or the spooks of Vinheim. That they do their work without being heard. These were covert agents who excelled at manipulating sound. And
Ashen one.
so Orbeck had not made the transition into being a true sorcerer of Vinheim. So it seems that he went out on his way to try to do the transition on his own, but he never really got the self-fulfillment of becoming a sorcerer, and he is still just the disgusting assassin that he hated about himself.
Speak thy desire, honorable Lord of Hollows.
So we can let her know about Orbeck's death.
Ah, I see Orbeck's claim is proven false. As it should be our right and deserving Lord of Hollows. It is a Londor treasure befitting of a true Lord. Lord of Hollows, may the dark sigil guide thy way.
And we get the Morian Blade.
Lord of Hollows.
So I don't know what Yuria had against Orbeck. Or maybe it was, we heard some of her dialogue there that it's a Londor treasure, da-da-da-da-da, Lord of Hollows, yada, yada, yada. So maybe she just did not like, or she does not like any potential undead champions that are not associated with Londor, because Londor is the place that all the real Hollows call home. But let's take a look at this blade here, and we'll end right after this. I've gone on long enough. But this is a twisted sword resembling the towers of Londor's Sable Church, and we've learned a little bit about the Sable Church before, and we can take a look at this guy here. 8 branching blades and thorns induce bleeding. The church's blessing makes the weapon revel in the agony of its owner, and as we look over here, it does have bleed effect to it. Heavy losses of HP boost attack, a curse most befitting of its deformed appearance. The Morian Blade is actually a Dark Souls 3 interpretation of a weapon with the same name from Demon Souls. And where it says here, heavy losses of HP boost attack. When you're below 20% health, you get a 20% boost to all damage types. And that's kind of similar to the Morian Blade from Demon Souls, but that was a 60% boost below 30%. And while the two don't look very similar, I think that with this one, they kind of wanted to do a look that, talks about, talking back about the Sable Church again. But it is a very cool looking weapon. And let me just go ahead and put this on, even though I can't use it. This one, as I mentioned before, does deal bleed damage, though it though the sword from Demon Souls did not. And as you look at it, I mean, how could something like this not cause bleed? But this is a super cool weapon, and it is very useful for glass cannon types. As I mentioned, when you get below that certain level of health, below the 20%, you do get that damage boost, and it stacks with other items like the red tearstone ring. So that's really going to do it for this time. Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this episode, if you're enjoying this playthrough, please hit that like button and share with your friends.
Welcome
and
home,
if you haven't
Speak thine heart's
if you haven't
desire.
subscribed already, please
Then
go
live,
ahead and
then
do
up
that,
and
because all of those things really help me out. Let's see. How many? I can only just get one right now? Meh. Let's just throw that on Vigor.
farewell, may the flame.
So next time we will fight the Abyss Watchers, and I'm sure that Hawkwood will have something to say about that. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time.